Back on it. I can't remember what I was talking about on the first part of this video, so I'm not really sure if I was meant to be carrying on with some sort of conversational brilliance. Probably not. I usually just sit down and make things up. As you can see here, I am painting in the sunshine slash Christian cross symbolic thing. I was going to create some sort of like eclipse by blacking over it a bit, but by the end of this I was so happy with how bright it looked, and it really has this kind of light bulb effect on the painting. So these sessions in this video, I'm kind of like blocking in the rest of the light, trying to cover the rest of the canvas, getting a very strong light source. And then the second half of this video is kind of going back over a lot of the shadow work, just to really try and keep everything consistent. And once all the shadows are blocked in, I can move away from, the kind of low value tones and move into the high value stuff, which is all directional, based on the light source that I'm putting in right now. So what I think I'm doing here, I wanted to go from yellow to kind of pinks and magentas, and then into blues, light blues, and then kind of mid-tone blues. Obviously yellow and blue mixed to make green, but if you look at sunsets, the light actually is affecting the colour ranges in the sky. You'll get this almost pink band merging through from your yellows to your blues, and it makes sense because if you go around the colour wheel anti-clockwise from your yellow, you're going to get yellow, and you're going to get orange, red, indigo, magentas, and then your blues. So it is there in the band of colour. So I think here I forgot to cut this down, so you're going to have to just watch me mix paint in real time. It's only a minute or something though, don't click away. I know how his attention spans work these days, and I usually try and keep my little clips down to 5-6 seconds or shorter, but it's a long one this, so like I can, I get it if you want to go, if I'm not being Mr. Beast enough, just go away, but I shouldn't put this thing, go away, that sounds awful, just go away man. Now, but as you can see, I'm kind of mixing like a light blue that's quite bright, and then adding some of that pink in. Now the pink is just yellow and magenta mixed, so if you think about that in terms of the sky, that's just what I've already put in. So and that means, because I've got that slight pink tone in there, I can go over the yellow paint wet on wet and not have it turn green, which was an absolute blooming revelation for me. I often wondered how it was done in an a la primer way, wet on wet, rather than allowing things to dry. And obviously you can scrape paint over the top, but a straight blue and a straight yellow, you will always get a green tint. So just having that tiny mix of the kind of magenta in there allows that flexibility. And I'm just building it in. It's quite a big piece, this, and it takes a while, so there's just a lot of blocking in. But once the sky's in it, it gains a certain, the whole piece gains vibrancy, and I was just like, yes, this is brilliant. I love the direction it's going in. I'd give the guy, I don't know if it's on this bit of film later. I think I filmed one more. No, sorry, I think I was painting for another about 20 minutes after I did the last bit of film last night, but I end up giving him a little like mobile phone, starting to place the shadow in for that. And this whole idea of like, wow, Jesus is back, quick, take a picture. I'm very interested in the idea of beauty and sublimity and the sublime, and if you can really take on an experience when you're pushing it through a mobile phone, or pushing it through some sort of technological adaptation which isn't analog. And I think there's something quite humorous in whipping out your phone to try and take a picture of Jesus if he ever returned, you know, the second coming. And I'm also looking for these tiny little modern symbols to place my work in here and now, rather than you know, across the edges of oil paint, which is, what, I don't know, a few hundred years or something. Or like Impressionism, post-Impressionism. So yeah, it's funny to me, this painting, in some way. See, it's a big one, 6 foot long, 6 foot wide. I'm 6 foot to the top of me crown. From the tip of me crown to me feet on the ground. 6 foot. Anyway. Right. Getting somewhere with this now, isn't it? There's only a few more sections to plug in the church, the pathway, and the fella. But what I'm going to do right now is I've mixed up some stuff here. So I'm going to go in with the darks again. And so I mixed up a chromatic grey thing by using a load of blue, and you add a little bit of that until it goes super deep. Then you keep adding yellow until it hits the grayscale. And then what I did was add a bit more yellow in to make a deep green. I added a bit more magenta in to make this kind of deep purple brown colour, and then I added a bit more blue in to the pile to make this deep blue colour. That's each one there with a little bit of white added. So you can see how that reads into the green, that reads into the blue, and that's kind of like purple. So I'm going to go in with the darks again. I need to come in on these bits. I need to re-establish some more shading and shadows here. I need to put some in here. Come in on all this. This looks full on right now, but you know, I'm going to do a bit more work. A bit more shadow stuff here, obviously all the back of the church and everything to plug in, and then start getting that really, really, really strong contrast between the light and the dark. But yeah, I'm starting to get into that, almost covering the thing. But the sky was really fun to do. Oh, and it looks really bright. So if I just build those shadows more, it'll just read even deeper and hopefully even more like a holy light. And I wanted to come in with a religious element. I said before it was quite humorous, and I'm not trying to take the mick out of religion, I don't think. I do think it's quite important, or at least the symbology is very important. It's a symbol that, you know, we can all kind of connect to, and I can use it as a representation of my, I suppose, beliefs through the artwork. keep trying. There was a bit where I'm like, it's blocking that church in there, and I thought, you know, I'm going to try and make the church look like a coffin. So I saw a shape of a coffin coming in on there. I said on the last one, I'm really just trying to paint as I go and not really think about it. I knew the composition well, like I mentioned in the first video. And it gets to a point where I was just thinking, well, what more there's a lot of space here, and what more religious symbology can we add in that reinforces the idea of this kind of life and death duality. And I think that's kind of what most of my work's been thinking about since about 6 months ago now. And this idea of beauty and the sublime, and when, you know, if the dead can't appreciate that anymore, then we have to, because we're alive, and we do it through the eyes of the dead, because they show us what it is we should be taking account for in the now. And a certain vibration and energy that, you know, goes when we go. And I'm starting to come to the conclusion that maybe just dealing with death is finding a religion or a symbol or a purpose or a responsibility for life. And almost going beyond the idea that you're going to die and getting to the idea that you have to die. Because if you're going to die, you're going to deal with it. Which is very flippant and almost... I'll get around to that tomorrow, you know. But if you have to die, which you do, and I do, you know, because everyone has to make way for the next passing. So if you have to, then you have to deal with it. And if you have to deal with it, it's very full frontal and positive. Oh, it has been very positive. It doesn't need to be a kind of death, decay. Nice. Celebrate life through the lens of death. And perhaps that's just what religion is on the grand scale. It's just a functionality for humans to allow us to wake up and put the work in, and put the consideration on why we're doing it, and finish things that are not necessarily functional, but just try to expand or communicate our idea of the sublime or beauty. I grew up kind of like the 90s, early 2000s, and the contemporary or modern art scene at the time was very destructive and almost devoid of any beauty. I really can rant on about a few artists from that time. I was also very into competitive miniature modelling and painting and making at the time, and some of the ideas that were coming out into contemporary art were just like, they were just not very subtle. And I thought that actually when if you widen this out, there's people doing this on a way better level than kind of what's making massive money in the art scene. And it just all felt very devoid of beauty. And growing into that was a weird one. Because it leaves you going through it and thinking, well, if this is the thing that's like the here and now, this reflection of just the awful side of humanity, the dark side of humanity, then it just leaves you with this almost nihilistic impression of what you should be representing about the earth and the world and humanity and existence and life, when it was hard to break free from that concept. And I think it put me off it for a while. For a long time it put me off art. I didn't take art at school. I didn't pursue it as any kind of, other than miniature painting, I didn't pursue any artistic endeavour. In fact, I played guitar a lot. Went down the music route. And I think it was just because of this like off-putting nature of the art world that I had grown up and grown into. And when I've come back to it with this idea of, well, it's not about death, it's not about dirge. We can all fling rubbish at the floor. At the end of the day, it's about getting up, making the bed, and then producing something of a certain beauty for yourself or for ourselves. And hopefully that beauty communicates. And if that beauty communicates to other people, then we've done our jobs as artists. And there we have it. Construction site there's just boxed off. Both of those massive fields where I love to train my dogs. Huge fence going all the way around the top, and then you can see here, big old fence going in, cutting all of this off. Once it's gone, it's gone. Apparently it has to happen. I had a little argument with a construction guy the other day. He was like, well, it has to happen. And I was just like, doesn't, like a child. He went, it has to happen. Doesn't, it has to happen. It doesn't have to happen. And I just didn't get it. I'm a little bit sensitive about the whole thing. The last time, when they first did that bit over there, the construction site, I was painting the fields over in the distance there. And I just ended up covering it in red ink. I got really angry. Really, really, really angry. And then I find all the dead rabbits because the warrens have been moved and the myxomatosis sets in and dead rabbits. And there's no more deer, there's no more owls, there's no more... I get a bit sensitive about it all. Did any of you get emotionally scarred by Fern Gully as a kid? Come on back. It's so sad. The only upside is the firewood, but I've got a handball at about 500 metres. My pile's massive now, but like it's a lot of work. I didn't want to leave the video on that note with the old Fern Gully coming back in, so I did another little session, basically just blocking in more of the shading. All of this session was just about getting those shadings strong. As you can see here, I'm kind of like, where I've done it a bit wrong, just go back in some darks, readjust some things, blah, 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 blah. And, I'm almost kind of ready for that third section of the painting now, where I'm going to swap over, fill in some gaps, fill in some lights, and start moving toward the final passes. Now, I'm still considering whether I should whap the old big fat oil pen crayon stick things out and do a bit of scribbling. I think I might, but I really Gotta get into a wonky mindset for that. But yeah, thank you for watching if you have. The first part of this, oh, there's the tongue going crazy. Sometimes I notice I'm doing it. It's very rare that I notice, but when I do, I'm like, ooh, get that back in there. But yeah, thank you for watching. The first part of this is really popped off, so I hope you are enjoying my little painting escapades. Till next time.